All right, everybody. This, believe it or not, is going to be our 20-page brochure. Again, half size. The easiest way to make an 8.5 by 11 20-page brochure is to get 5 pieces of 11 by 17 and simply fold them all in half. If I fold one of these sheets in half, this is now 2 pages, if you want to argue that, but if I were to fold it in half, it now becomes a signature that is, oops, I can't even open it, 4 pages. Front, back, 2 inside pages. That's called a signature. When you're looking at just 2 pages by themselves, this is a spread, okay? What we're going to do is, if we have a 20-page brochure that we're going to saddle stitch, which would be staples along this edge, then what's going to happen is we would need how many? 4 by 5. 4. To make 20, we would need 5. So to go 1, 2, 3, that's 5. I'm using some scraps, so if you see lines drawn on them. Now, the problem is that once I get these done, proportionally, they're not going to be right. They're still going to be slightly off. But they each go one inside another inside another. So right now, I am, since this is an 11 by 8.5 by 11, this part of the page is now 5.5. And what I want to do is make this match up to a 8.5 by 11, which would actually make it a half, would be 4 1/4. So, and then the length this way, which normally would be 11, would be 5.5. So we really have a long way to go here. So for our sake, actually, this is not quite where we want to be. If we were using a proportion wheel, and I'll show you how that works in just a second. If we're using a proportion wheel, which sometimes you can find these lying around in the lab, this is a proportion scale wheel. So on here, I'm going to take my original size. So this is supposed to be 8.5 by 11, but this side across here is 5.5. So if I go 8.5, which is here, line it up with 5.5, and then look across to where 11 is. 11 is a little more than 7 inches. It's about maybe 7 1/8. So that is ultimately going to be our size. So if you want to remember this for the purposes of doing this, just let's say 7 1/8, just for the heck of it. So we leave it 5.5 this way. Then we'll simply measure 7 1/8 this way. Like that. Take our mighty knife and just cut it off like thusly. And there, oops, that's awful. And there, if you pay close attention, you might get to watch me chop off my finger. There is approximately the proportions of an 8.5 by 11, only at half size. Ta-da! And that's all you have to do for this, except that I did ask you to number the pages. So 1, and then this would be page 2, and onward until you hit page 20 in the back. And the reason I'm asking you to put the page numbers in is that if you look very carefully now, when this is going to be printed, page number 1 prints on the opposite side of page 20. And in here, page number 2 would print on the opposite side of page 19. So this is what we refer to as imposition, where we start off, when we're designing these things in Illustrator or InDesign, we start off with what are called reader's spreads. They eventually have to be turned into a printer spread, which is this, 20 and 1. So this is basically the purpose of this little exercise is this. So there we have it. That's still doesn't look quite right, but that's what it's supposed to be. So, alrighty. So we have 20-page brochure.